Hey, what's up, Faithful? How you doing? I just wanted to go over some things, especially now that the 49ers have been at the combine, obviously, and seeing players just as all the other 31 teams have been doing and actually getting some visits. We're also seeing guys getting interviewed, and some of them have formal visits, some of them are informal. And then guys might mention that they've visited with the 49ers or spoken to somebody from the 49ers. So all of that, in my opinion, is fair game. So going back to the Senior Bowl, all the different bowls, Shrine Bowl, all the different stuff that these guys have been doing since the beginning of January, really, and obviously the work goes back way further than that. But I just kind of wanted to talk about real quick the some of those visits, and I wanted to talk about this. I did actually just put up a mock, right, uh, maybe 10 minutes ago, that was kind of based off of those visits, and also just kind of some of the things we're hearing in terms of the local media and just 49ers content creators and what they're hearing. A lot of guys that go to the combine and what they're hearing, and just kind of rumors and whispers and all the different things that everyone's trying to analyze and figure out about what John Lynch has said, and kind of what the direction the 49ers are going to go in free agency and how that might inform what they do in the draft. So let's just start right there. I think it seems to me, and now again, there's different content creators are saying different things, and we're hearing different things about potentially wide receiver being a position where the 49ers are going to be more active in free agency than they will in the draft. At least that's the way it's coming off. Especially, you're hearing Debo rumors now too, a return for Debo, and look, it's not out of the realm of possibility, right? I'm not saying I think that there's a lot of validity to it at this moment on February 27th, but we also can't completely dismiss anything on February 27th based on what we've seen and heard, and just the history of John and Kyle really liking their players. Now that doesn't mean that I think that they believe that Debo is a guy that's going to come in again and try to be a one, maybe even a two. You're kind of like as like a two and a three, and you're having him in a role of like, this is a veteran presence like Jawan Jennings, who they've been reported to actually be talking to and trying to get negotiations going there. Obviously, again, Trent Williams, he's a guy that you really, I don't believe this whole stuff about, because of the cap and because having to push money down the line, that will be an issue. I really think that the 49ers know there is no left tackle that you can just bring in either in free agency or through the draft, and you're going to feel like it's anywhere near Trent Williams. And so it'd be different if the 49ers were not in a mode where they're trying to win at this moment. That'd be different. But the 49ers are in a mode where they want to compete in the playoffs, and again, as we know, compete for championships, not just, hey, we got to the playoffs and we had one amazing victory like they just did with a lot of backups and stuff like that, and say, hey, that's a good season. It was for what it was because of all the injuries, but I don't think anybody in that building is satisfied with that being the measuring stick, right? That's not the 49ers barometer and how they view themselves, and we know that's not how the players view themselves, especially the vets. So all that being said, I do think Trent will get worked out. I really hope Eddie gets worked out, because I know that Eddie Pinheiro wants a new contract, wants something different, which is to be expected. I mean, he's a guy you signed pretty much off the street after week one when you were in dire straits, and he comes in and he makes 28 of 29. The only miss he had was a kick that doinked off the center of the crossbar on a 64-yard attempt. So, that's that's the kind of thing you don't even expect the guy to kick it that far on an attempt. So, he's a guy you want to bring back because he did his job, and he did it at a very, very high level, higher than anyone we've seen around here since Robbie Gould. And I posted this online earlier, and Robbie isn't somebody who he's just gonna come in and do anything at this stage. He's just completely out of the picture. So you got Eddie, or you're going to the draft again, and we all know what kind of a minefield that can be at that position. So I think those two guys the 49ers will figure out a way to bring back. Obviously, Trent Williams is a huge priority, and then Eddie as your kicker, and a guy that, again, games are decided by 7 points or less the last, 5-6 years now, more than ever before, right? So we know the parity in football. Jawan is a different story, right? Jawan is a different story because in the open market, he may get more than what he would like to, or sorry, he may not get as much as what he'd like, even on the open market, but he's going to get more than what he'd get here. And so that one's a little bit interesting, kind of a touch and go situation. But the 49ers are still trying to talk to Jawan and try to see if they can kind of, again, meet and negotiate something that is friendly for both sides, obviously. And so who knows? But I do feel like everything we're hearing, everything I'm reading and hearing around 49ers content and just, again, 49er land during the combine is making it seem like the 49ers are probably going to lean towards free agency to deal with the wide receiver position. We know that, again, they did draft Jacob Cowing in the 4th round, and they did draft Jordan Watkins in the 3rd or 4th. I forget, but it's, again, middle rounds, early day 3. So, you have guys there that are supposed to be your speed guys. You have young guys that you did just draft, last year and the year before. So you're not trying to necessarily cut those guys. Obviously, you still are holding out hope that Ricky is going to stay healthy, get stronger. And usually it's the year 3 that is that prove it year for guys. And so, especially at wide receiver. And so I am really curious to see how it goes for Ricky. I know it took Brandon Ayuk a few years to really, everyone kept saying, get out of Kyle's doghouse, but really was also just, again, getting the offense and getting in the flow of everything. He didn't have as much injury stuff going on as Ricky, especially the weird injuries that Ricky has had and just weird occurrences. But nevertheless, it took a few years. And then once you hit on that year 3, which was 2022, I guess, for 2020 he was drafted, 21, 22. No, it was 2023. So 2023 was year 3 for Brandon Ayuk in the league, right? So officially, technically you could say 22 as well, because he was drafted in 20. So 20 to 21, 21 to 22, 22 to 23. But regardless, he didn't play much early on, right? And so really, the amount of playing time that you get, the amount of snaps that you get, understanding the complexities of this offense, I'm just projecting that if health stays consistent or is somehow improved, much improved for Ricky, then Ricky, I mean, the first 3 weeks of the season, he was playing fantastic. And that was just 3 weeks, but his production was really high. And he was beating man coverage. He was doing all the things that we wanted to see from 49ers receivers the previous few years, and we just didn't see it, especially in the Super Bowl, right? Like beating man coverage, getting some separation, contested catches, adjusting well to the ball, having a high catch radius, and then not dropping it. For as much as it was impressive, the work that at the best of what Ayuk could do, and even Debo, they would drop the ball at times too, and that was something that was part of the reason why I feel like Debo also isn't here anymore. So it's kind of interesting to hear these rumors that potentially he could come back. Although, again, if it's a team-friendly situation, he is a veteran presence. He isn't going to be a wide receiver 1, maybe kind of in that 2 category, but you're looking at like wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, with having more speed and more youth be your wide receiver 1 and more of your wide receiver 2. So we'll see how that goes. But that changes things, right? It changes things in terms of who are the 49ers going after. I mean, I have a whole list of these guys that and you can find that, I believe it was posted on Niners Nation. There were 19 guys that the 49ers have had visits with already in some capacity. A few of them lately, I know they just had Michael Taffy here, not here, but they had Michael Taffy in for an interview at the combine, and that's the free safety, big number 16 free safety out of Texas. A guy that actually, interestingly enough, reminds me a lot of Talanoa Hufanga. So he reminds me of Huff a lot because not the fastest guy in the world. He's probably a little faster than Huff was coming out of USC. But to me, it's not that speed that impresses me. It's his closing speed. And that was the thing that I thought Hufanga did really well. He wasn't great in long distance, but in short bursts, and he closed really well. So, he'd be a guy that could get tackles for loss. He could get to the quarterback, and Taffy can do that. But I also really like that he does a good job of tracking the ball really well and making some interceptions. He has great hands. And so that's something the 49ers have desperately needed. I like a few other guys too that 49ers haven't visited with. Like I really like Jalen Kilgore. Jalen Kilgore is a guy that I think is a pure ball hawk out of South Carolina. Kind of, he's Nick Emanwari's former teammate, but to me, I just look at him and I just watch his tape, and he was just a guy that tracked the ball extremely well. Also, a very good tackler, a little bit bigger and stronger, probably a little faster than Taffy. Taffy's more like 6'1", 6'2", 185, 190 is what he's usually listed as. So, but I like Taffy a lot. I think he's got excellent instincts. I think he can pick the ball off. And the 49ers, more than anything, at free safety, need guys that aren't just kind of in the box, great tacklers. We have that. I mean, Malik Mustafa is fantastic in run support, or he can be fantastic in run support. But you can't rely on him to be a guy that covers the intermediate middle or even the deep middle. And then again, generating turnovers, right? And pass rush is part of that, of course. And so, interestingly enough, I do think the 49ers are looking at the D line again early in the draft. A guy that apparently again could be a pick there at 27 that I hadn't been thinking of because I'm really just enamored with Zion Young and just the amount of just sheer raw athleticism and force that guy plays with. So I was always thinking, maybe Zion Young, TJ Parker, if he's still there at 27. But I mean, I'm hearing now defensive tackle again. Kristen Miller is the guy that I keep hearing. So the big D tackle from Georgia, who coincidentally was not only former teammates with Michael Williams, but they're boyhood friends, and they've been working out ever since they were kids together. So I there's a connection, right? So that's a guy that there's a connection. And even with Alfred Collins and CJ West, we know, I mean, with CJ, I love CJ. To me, he was like my favorite guy that I was scouting last year. He just was such a beast. But, where he was drafted, you don't necessarily feel forced to play him necessarily. Like Alfred Collins, second rounder, out of Texas. He's a guy that, was, I believe, a 3 or 4 year starter. And so like you feel more that pressure to and he did perform too. There were times where he flashed. I mean, that Thursday nighter where he knocked the ball out of Kyron Williams. And again, he can't live off of one play, of course, but it was a great play. And to me, it essentially won that game. So we did great in that game, but we don't win that game without that play. So, you could say, give that guy, because we drafted that guy, we got an extra victory. You're in position there at the end to have the number 1 seed because of plays like that, because of great instincts that Alfred had, and he needs to get better. These guys definitely know they need to get a lot better, but because the run defense is still such an issue, I don't dislike the idea of having another D tackle and picked really early. I mean, you can't ever have enough D tackle and enough O linemen, obviously, and we'll get to that. But the 49ers have had some visits from a few O linemen as well. Some names, one name that I like and kind of knew about, and it was a great O line, and then some names that I honestly didn't know and kind of had to go look up. But and I'll put that list up, and I'll have that list up. Hopefully, I'll be able to put it on during this video, in the editing room, and so. But regardless, I'll make sure I try to have that in social media as well. But again, it was 19 guys for sure that have been either mentioned in some form or fashion that have visited with the 49ers. Some of the guys, so Michael Taffy was one of them. And just to continue that, talking about that, I'm trying to remember some of the other ones. So one of the guys that I liked actually was a center from Penn State. Penn State had a great running game. They had Nick Singleton, and then another running back that did really well for them this season. And so they had a great running game, good old line. Obviously, I mean, to me, Vega Ioane is the guy, their big ticket, just their all star that will get drafted in the first round, and he's a guard. But the guy to me that was really impressive is the guy that actually the 49ers visited with, and that was Nick Dawkins. And so he's their center, big number 53, really good player. And I hadn't seen him too much because I think he's more of a day 3 kind of guy, day 2, day 3, probably more of a day 3. But when I watched his tape, I was like, okay, I understand what they like about him. He did really well, and I actually watched a lot of that Indiana game, and I thought he held up really well against a good Indiana D line. And and so, I want to watch more of his game. But in terms of his run blocking and pass blocking, he's really athletic. He's about 6'4", 300, maybe 305, but very quick, very quick. So not huge, not a huge guy, but for center, he's much bigger than our current center, right? And that is more in that 285, 290 range, and again, very athletic. So maybe a guy there that you draft, and you maybe let him learn, or he can compete, right? And we'll see what the 49ers do again with free agency. I'm a big Tyler Linderbaum fan. I would love for us to invest in a center. I've posted this online that our two best Super Bowl runs in 2012 and 2019, when we were dominating on the ground, that offseason, the prior offseason, or the offseason before those seasons started, right? We actually signed 2 new centers to the team, and I think that made a huge difference. In 2012 it was Jonathan Goodwin, in 2019 it was Weston Richburg, and so having a center, and we've had Alex Mack here, who was a great center for the Cleveland Browns for many years, and he was great when he was here with us. Short time, I think only 1 season, but great center. I really believe that's an area you can upgrade. I have nothing against Brendel and the good work that he's done, although we know he's very much a player that is kind of the, what is it, the ire of the fan base, and somebody who's the bane of their existence at times. And for good reason, I think at times, because of when you go up against more dominating D lines, and they beat you, and they beat you badly, you look at the interior a lot, and especially if you don't have a big huge center that's not their game. Their game is being cerebral, getting guys in the right spot, and being good in the run game when you need to pull and you need to make sure you block the right guy. He's great in all those things, right? But when you've got just waves of dominance, the way that we've seen with Seattle and even with the Rams and other teams, you need a really big, talented center there. And like I said, I would love to see Linderbaum, but I know the 49ers don't typically invest in that, and or at least haven't since, well, like I said, 2019 was the last time they signed a free agent at center that was meant to start. That wasn't supposed to just be a backup, because I know they have Matt Hennessy and all these other guys. But so it's been a while. But I really, like I said, I do like this kid, Nick Dawkins. And I think if he's a developmental guy, or he's brought in to compete, and who knows, you never know, maybe he is a guy that can eventually take over, or maybe in season, we don't know. And we don't know what their plans are, to fortify that position. And then at guard, there are a few guys. I know that they were looking at, one of the BYU guards. He typically plays right guard, but he can play left tackle as well. His name's escaping me right now, but he's big number 55. So if you get a chance to check out some of BYU's games, check him out, because he is a good player as well, and a good prospect. Again, more of a day 2, day 3 guy. So I think a lot of these visits, 49ers are looking more of the back of the draft, to be honest. Other than Taffy, then the another guy that visited with them was the linebacker from Oregon, Borcher, I want to say. Borcher. I'm going to go with that. And then the cornerback, Dalen Everett, big 6'1", 6'2" cornerback out of Georgia. So again, another Georgia Bulldog. 49ers just really like their Georgia Bulldog these days. Obviously with Michael Williams, and I mentioned Kristen Miller. So, when I was doing my latest mock, that's kind of what I was looking at is who are they looking at? Who are they looking at to potentially, and especially in these visits, a lot of D-line, edge, a lot of corners, a bunch of different corners. So not just Dalen Everett, but they had other corners as well. They even had a kicker. So a guy named Marjan, who was out of Kansas, really good kicker. I think he was second in the nation in the Lou Groza Award, which is given out to the best kicker in college football. So he came in second for that. Really, I mean, he was impressive. But again, I'm hoping we re-sign Eddie. Just because these guys look good. I mean, I don't want to go back to our former kicker before Eddie, but he looked incredible back in Michigan and kicking in front of 90,000 people. But it's different in the NFL. It's different, and I have to say though, I do like this guy's technique. Soccer style guy. I'm Brazilian American, so for me, I'm always kind of, and I grew up playing soccer, so for me, I look to see like how do guys kick? What's their style? Adam Vinatieri, soccer style guy. Eddie Pinheiro, obviously, guy who grew up playing soccer in Nicaragua, and so he's a guy that. He the way he kicks the ball just is a certain style, not with the instep, and usually gets more accuracy that way. So that's your kicking tidbit for the day there. But so that was kind of interesting that they had a visit with a kicker as well. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to spend any picks on that. That just means that it's a guy that it's a position that they're trying to find coverage in case they can't come to terms with Eddie. I do expect them to find a way to come to terms with Eddie and with Trent, like I said, definitely with Trent. And then with Eddie, I'm really hopeful. I mean, if it's between $3.5 million and $5 million, I mean, it's, just, I really doubt the 49ers, like, we rather draft a guy because of $1.5 million per, I doubt, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think that our cap situation is so bad, and it's not bad at all, to where they're trying to save that little. I think that they would prefer to not spend as much on the kicker, but on the kicker position, but he proved that, he earned it. I mean, that's the other thing too, is one season, but it was a tremendous season and should have been a Pro Bowl season, in my opinion. But we'll see on that. Like I said, Jawan is really tricky. So not a lot of wide receivers that visited with the 49ers. The one guy, and I remember his name too, out of Georgia Southern, Camden Brown. All right. And like I said, I'll have the list up. I should have already had it. But I just really wanted to get started today. But Camden Brown, really interesting guy. Again, not from big name conference, SEC, Big 12, all that kind of stuff, ACC. Not one of those conferences, but a guy that honestly, about 6'2", 210 pounds, maybe 205. Really impressive. With the tape that I did watch, I didn't watch a ton on him, but what I did watch, really good route runner and quick, especially to start the route. But again, at the tail end of his routes as well, I felt like he runs the tree really well, and his cuts are good. His hands are really good. I thought his contested catches were great when he did have some contested catches. So good player, could be a gem, right? We're looking at guys. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they're going to go early rounds with wide receivers. And I know that that's a bit of a surprise, but it's just based on what they're saying, based on what John Lynch spoke about. And again, based on everything I'm reading and hearing from 49ers, all 49ers content creators thus far. So it seems, and Mike Evans, we were kind of connected there. It would be amazing to get Mike Evans. I don't know what the cost would be. And again, it might all depend on what the 49ers decide to do with Jawan. And even, like I said, the Tebow now rumors again starting as well. It's February 27th. So no question that those rumors will continue to fly about. But as somebody that really loves to do these mock drafts, I do pay attention to these things because it'll inform which positions they go after. It seems like they're going to lean heavily again on D line. I did put Jennings Dunker in my latest mock. All right, so I know some of the Niners content creators that love Jennings Dunker would like that. Jennings, it was a guy that just was a great Senior Bowl guy. He had a great Senior Bowl. He just, again, as many have said, the dude just has a lot of personality, a lot of aura. Just a really, just a seems like a fun personality guy that would fit in with George Kittle and all the guys, and just loves ball, So, that would be cool to see. Having him solve the left guard situation, and we did invest a second round pick on Aaron Banks, 3-4 years ago. So it's not impossible. It's not impossible that the 49ers can do that, but it looks like it'll be the trenches more than anything else. And then who knows, maybe in that third, fourth round range, a guy like Michael Taffy at free safety to help fortify things. Because as much as I love Marquise Siegel, and I do, I like Marquise Siegel. I was a fan of his since draft night. I still am. I think he could have gotten more burn last year than Jair Brown. I understand there's a pecking order, but I still, and I know he struggled a little bit too there before he got benched essentially. But I also thought he made some plays, and I thought that he was there a lot of the times, and he just had tighter coverage than the other guys, not just Jair, but whoever else we trotted out there, Pinnock and all those other dudes when they pair them up with Malik. So, but you got to fortify things. Again, guys you're picking in the 4th, 5th round, they could end up being just great special teamers as well. So it's you can't just say, okay, well we got that position covered because we selected them in the 4th or 5th round the year before. No, you establish your guys with competition, and that's why I think the Michael Taffy one is really interesting. And then, like I said, keep an eye on Dalen Everett and those guys. So the guys from the bigger programs that have already visited with the 49ers or have done a formal visit, keep an eye on. And then before I check out, another guy that I was able to watch a little film on, really good player too. Again, we're looking at still day 3 guys, not early in the draft, but some really interesting guys. One guy, another D tackle, but Landon Robinson out of Navy, really good player, played in the Shrine Bowl, and so he's a really good player as well. So that rotation of D line continues. Just again, now we're going to have our own wave of D line probably after this draft. So I'm going to keep checking all this out, seeing, keeping my ear and my eyes peeled constantly to the content that's being put out there in pretty much every single Niners channel that I can get my hands on, and so as we all try to do, right, and figure out what they're going to do, and then keep watching these guys perform at the combine. So still plenty more to come, but thank you so much, everybody, and please consider liking and subscribing, and I will keep trying to do this as much as I can here on Niners on the Go. Thank you so much. Take care, faithful.